Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our peer-to-peer monthly webinar series, Data Tools for Infrastructure Grants. We're here today with a couple of panelists from K-State. We'll introduce them in a moment. And Ken DeFonso from our technical assistance team. Glad to have everyone join us today. This is our agenda. We're going to talk about data tools for infrastructure grants first, all things Kansas demonstration with the question and answer, and then Kenda will go over some other resources that we have, and then just touch on next month's webinar that we plan. Kansas State University and leads their development and implementation of a university-wide strategy for economic development, as well as Jennifer Tidball. She is the Communications Director for Economic Development at Kansas State University. And with that, I will turn it over to Jessica and Jennifer. Thank you for joining us today.
All right. Thank you so much, Jason. And thank you so much for everybody joining us. Myself and Jennifer Tidball, we are excited to get things kick-started here. So as we load up the slides, I'm really excited to share with you today a one-stop resource that really brings together trusted data from dozens of sources all over Kansas to help Kansans understand their communities and take action. So whether that's applying for grants, planning for infrastructure, or developing workforce strategies, today we are going to talk about all things Kansas. So before we jump into that, next slide, Jennifer. Before we jump into that, I want to give you a little bit of context of who we are and how this work fits inside of Kansas State University. So both Jennifer and I work for the Office of External Engagement. And as Jason said, I'm the Director of Economic Development. And Jennifer gets to spend her time doing communications for anything within the university that has to do with economic development. So this has been an elevated core priority of Kansas State University. And we work very closely with Extension. And in fact, Jennifer works in an Extension office in Sedgwick County right now. So this is a really great tool to give us a presence in every county, helping to really translate that academic research into real world results. So that's really what All Things Kansas represents. So it's a tool for engagement, and it advances our next gen vision of connecting the university through measurable impact. So next slide. So what is All Things Kansas? Launched in 2024 through a partnership with the University of Missouri Extension, All Things Kansas is a free interactive platform to develop to help you understand what's happening in every Kansas community. Whether you're looking at workforce pipelines, childcare access, housing needs, or even population shifts, this will bring together over 30,000 data layers with 120 trusted sources, and many of them are Kansas specific. And you can do things like explore maps, generate reports, and quickly compare county to county information without logging in. It's completely free and you don't need a subscription. So we know, and we're preaching to the choir here on this webinar today, that informed communities really do make stronger decisions. And so through the lens of Kansas State University, deploying out their extension, we're creating All Things Kansas to give local leaders access to clear, actionable data that supports real economic development in Kansas. So next slide, please. One of the things that really makes All Things Kansas unique is the depth and transparency of the data behind it. And it's really kind of our engine. So like I said earlier, the platform really draws from 122 trusted data providers, and it's everything you can think of, right? It's going to be US Census Bureau, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and even state agencies like KDHE, the Kansas Department of Commerce, DCF, we have information from, and the Office of Rural Broadband here in Kansas. So altogether, that adds up to about 940 data sets, of which we have 6,500 individual data items, and it nears almost 30,000 map layers. And so this is constantly ebbing and flowing. So every time you go to this page, and we have the link right down there at the bottom, you're going to see this change. You can also hover over every single little piece, and it's documented publicly. You can, anytime you pull a report or create a map, you're going to see exactly where the data comes from, the year that it comes from, the data source, and really how that data, the methodology is calculated. So yeah, moving on, let's take a look at our All Things Kansas video.
All Things Kansas is an interactive tool to help you understand all 105 counties across the Sunflower State. Visualize, analyze, and compare trends. Identify opportunities, understand communities, and build your business. The website includes more than 30,000 data, combining more than 120 national and state sources. Search topics such as economic development, business growth, housing, childcare, healthcare, and more. It's a one-stop shop for Kansas data, saving you time and making information easy to access. And the best part, it's all free, because that's what a next-generation land-grant university does. All Things Kansas is a service that we proudly offer the people of Kansas. Try it out today.
All right, so thank you so much for that. And then our next slide, I'm just going to go over just a few of the use cases. First off, the All Things Kansas data platform was really designed to be practical. So it helps you save time. It gives you multiple data layers in one place. So moving on to the next one, it can help with grant applications. And Jennifer's going to share a couple of the different features that we have that you can have curated into grant applications to be able to produce the maps and the data in just a format that's easily usable. It's a research tool. You can use it to visualize and map data. You can build geography-based maps and geography-based reporting. So you can do point data, but you can also do the geography side of it. And really, it helps you understand market trends, market demands, and identify workforce strengths, industry gaps. And just like I said earlier, we know through the work we do as the Land Grant University in Kansas that when communities and when leaders have information, they are able to make a lot better decisions. So what we're going to talk about today, I've got one more slide talking about some of our partnerships and about the formation of the platform. And then Jennifer is going to really dig into some of the actual demonstrations of the platform. So All Things Kansas, what we've been doing with All Things Kansas is it is an evolving tool. We're continuing to expand the platform based on the needs of Kansans. We were actually just at the Extension Annual Conference 2 weeks ago, and we had about 355 Extension agents in the room, and we did a really cool interactive presentation with the University of Missouri Extension and the University of Nebraska Extension, really asking Extension agents, what are some of the top issues that your community is facing, and what are some ways we can take a look at data to help inform decision making? So through that lens, we've recently partnered with the Kansas Data Access and Support Center to add more than 120 new Kansas specific data layers through the Kansas GeoPortal. And this includes local infrastructure, environmental, and jurisdictional data. We've also worked with United Way to incorporate the ALICE data. So that really highlights households that are asset limited, income constrained, and employed, giving a much clearer picture of what working families on the edge look like right now. Also working with the Kansas Health Foundation on some topics related to upward mobility. So we see a lot of these data pieces helping to inform the work that not only K-State Extension does, but the university as a whole. So in the next year, we're going to be working specifically with agriculture and the Kansas Department of Agriculture to make sure that we have some of the very Kansas specific information that we can also pair with USDA, FSA, CRP statistics. And in collaboration with the Kansas Health Institute, you can actually go to our platform and take a look at the county health rankings and then overlay that with other information that might be important to you and your organization. So really, these updates, they are technical, but we are looking at continuing to build additional partners across the state and across the nation. So this is our commitment to bringing practical, responsive tools and keeping pace with what Kansas communities need. So this is just kind of a brief overview behind the scenes, a little bit about K-State, why we developed the platform. And now I would like to kind of turn it over to Jennifer, and she's going to give you a walkthrough of what it looks like in action and what is possible once you start to explore. So with that, Jennifer, feel free to take it away.
All right. Thank you, Jessica. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here with all of you. As Jessica mentioned, I'm going to kind of walk us through the platform. But first, what I really wanted to highlight is just all the different ways we are bringing this platform to folks across Kansas, because certainly as a land grant university, we want this to be a service and a tool that people like all of you can use. And so since we've launched in February of 2024, we've done more than 5,000 demos across the state, and that includes 24 in-person demonstrations and more than 11 virtual demonstrations similar to what we're doing now. So we really want this to be a tool that you use, and we welcome feedback. And we'll get to kind of some of that portion later on in the demonstration, but we want to know how we can make this better and how we can really build this into a tool that all of you will use. And then just a few numbers I wanted to share regarding engagement of the platform, but we average about 345 unique users each day who are accessing All Things Kansas. And since we've launched, we've had more than 31,000 total unique users. Some of our most common topics on the platform are going to be topics that are certainly relevant and familiar to all of you. You can see economic development, agriculture, water, health, and any kind of population-related data. So just kind of wanted to provide a little snapshot of how we're sharing this, where we're at. And I think with that, we'll kind of really start diving into the platform a bit. One thing I do kind of want to share with all of you is that as we walk through, I'll kind of walk through the different features of it here very quickly, and then I will actually share my internet browser, and we'll kind of go through a couple of live demos on some topics that would hopefully be relevant to this group. I will say we're going to go through things really quickly, so certainly feel free to put any questions in the chat. If you actually go to the platform, there's also a contact form too if you have any follow-up questions for Jessica and myself as well. But let's go ahead and dig in and take a closer look. So there's really two main features to All Things Kansas. There's going to be what we call our Maps feature and what we call our Reports feature. And with our Map feature, we have our Map Room, which when you go to the website, this will be, I've kind of circled it here so you can see where to access this piece of it. And so this is really going to be the platform for exploring data. It's free form and it's really where you can build your own map. But if it's your first time using the platform, this can be a little overwhelming. So what we've done is we've created a map gallery, and this has about 50 pre-made maps that we have put together that explore areas such as business development, childcare, broadband, healthcare, topics that we know are really relevant to Kansans and topics that we know they want to know more about. So if it's your first time using the platform, this is a really good starting place. And one thing I will also mention as well is that, you know, when you've heard us talk about how we have 30,000 data layers and 120 sources, we are not the primary data source for these data layers. We are the secondary source. We are linking out and bringing in publicly available data through API, through partnerships with some of our state partners, things like that as well. And when we actually start walking through the platform, I will show you how you can, how we cite the data, how you can go out and find more, things like that as well. But the goal is really just this one-stop shop so that you can go to this map room, you can go to this map gallery, and you can access what you need in one place, really saving you all time. So when you go to a map, this is going to be what it looks like. I'll kind of go through some of these features really quickly, but we have our legend where you can kind of manage the different data layers. You can select and modify as needed. You can add different data layers over here on the top left there. We've also got several different tools. You've got a place where you can save your created maps. And then as well, I'll be sure to highlight how you can export maps you create into formats such as PDF, JPEGs, different pieces like that, which we know are really helpful if you need a visual way to represent some data for maybe a grant application or a presentation or things like that. We also have a way to share and create a unique link for the website you've built that you can then share out with folks so they can access the map and view it as well. So this will kind of be what the maps look like when we get to that point. And then we also have the second feature of All Things Kansas, which are our reports. And so our report gallery is really where you can start to generate these curated data reports on different topic areas. You'll see health, economic development, housing, those kinds of pieces. And then the reports are really good when you have a topic and you want maybe a numeric way to compare, you know, a specific county or location with other counties and locations. We've got different ways, depending on how the data is reported, we have different ways you can summarize and compare multiple locations. You'll see some of those listed here as well, but we'll kind of go into that more detail. Just wanted to provide sort of an overall look at the report gallery. When you go into create a report, this is sort of a step-by-step of how it will look. So you'll actually select your topic area. So here, these screenshots, we're looking at an economic development report. You can select the report area that you're interested in, so the location. You'll select your data indicators, and then you'll generate a report that you can then download again as a PDF, a Word doc, Excel file, things like that. There are also options to share and print a report as well. And then I also wanted to highlight a few additional features we've launched with the website. We did just launch a couple of months ago what's called Build Your Business, and this continues to be a work in progress and continues to be something we are building out. But it's really a page where you can go and it shows how data can help with business development. So we've got just the Build Your Business in Kansas, and what that's done is we've pulled out several different pre-created maps on topics that we know are relevant to business leaders and community leaders. And then we've also got a couple of relevant reports on that page as well. And then once we launched that, certainly being K-State and being a land grant school, we got a lot of feedback that there were a lot of folks wanting to build incubator kitchens, food businesses, things like that here in Kansas. And so we really saw a need to sort of experiment with an industry specific page. So we've got Build Your Food Business in Kansas. And so that is a similar to the Build Your Business page, but it has maps and data that are really relevant to the food industry, food businesses, that kind of piece as well. So our hope is to continue to build this out to different industry areas that we know are relevant to Kansas. But just wanted to share that with all of you and highlight that piece as well. And again, as I mentioned, I'm going to go through things really, really quickly today. So we also have a support page that has an FAQ. It has MapRoom support. So there'll be a step-by-step guide on how to create maps, as well as a video that will guide you through the process, and similar with the report support as well. So just wanted to know if you need to go back and you can't remember everything I said today, that's okay. We've got support tools there to help you out. So with that, I am going to stop the presentation and actually switch over to a browser, and I'm going to walk you through two sets of maps and reports. We're going to walk through a housing map and report, and then we're also going to walk through a broadband map and report, because I know that's a topic that's really relevant to this group and one of your areas of focus. So we're going to walk through that, and then we'll have kind of some interactive pieces at the end that we can incorporate. So bear with me here really quickly while I switch my screen sharing. Okay, so now we are switched over here to my browser, and I'm going to kind of walk you through, as I said, a couple of those maps and reports. So again, super easy to get to All Things Kansas, allthingskansas.k-state.edu, k-state.edu/allthingskansas will all get you to the right place. And as I mentioned from those screenshots, we've got our maps and we've got our reports. And so if we hover over here to our maps and we go down to our map gallery, this is going to be where you can access some of those pre-created maps that I was talking about. And you'll see we've got lots of different topics that we know are relevant to Kansans. I know water is another area of focus for this group. We've got population-related data. You can really scroll through several pages of maps to explore here. But one that I really, really wanted to highlight was our housing map. And so I've got it already pulled up here for all of you, but when you click on it, it's going to pull up this housing map as well. And what we've got here, I'm going to kind of walk you through what we're looking at. So we've got 3 different data layers that we've pulled here. And you'll notice here that these are all American Community Survey data sets. So I mentioned that we're not the primary data source, but we're pulling publicly available data. So if you're ever curious and want to learn more about a specific data layer, all you have to do is click this I right up here, and that's going to pull up a little pop-up that has a description of the data set, when it was released, a link out to learn more, all of that. So the numbers that you're seeing on this map here are going to be the average rent in different census tract areas. And again, this is pulling American Community Survey data that was released in December of 2023. So that's going to be kind of our numbers across the map here. And if you ever want to unhighlight a layer from the map, you simply click that right here. So now we're looking at our sort of our blue highlights here across the map. And so this is showing our cost burdened households. So these are going to be households that exceed 30%, where more than 30% of the household income is being spent on housing costs. And so you'll kind of start to see a gradient here of different shades of blue that sort of shows where some of those households will be. And again, this one is organized by census tract, but if you ever want to learn more about a specific tract, you can simply click on it and it will pop up more information about that specific area. So you'll notice here in this census tract here in Wichita, we've got about 36% of our housing units are considered cost burdened. So that's this layer right here. I'm going to deselect that. And then the third layer we've got here showing up, again, American Community Survey data. And this is going to show our population below the poverty level. And so again, you'll start to see this gradient, and some of these darker teal areas are going to be some of those areas that where the population's below the poverty level. So you can click on those different sections to kind of learn more. You can also, scroll out here to see the whole state and kind of paint a picture for how things look across the state. I'll also highlight this search feature down here in the lower right where you can search for a specific county or something like that. And again, you can add data, and you can also highlight some of the tools over here. So what I did want to highlight with this map was a tool that we call the swipe feature. So you can have, I've got these two data layers selected here. So I've got our cost burdened households with our population below the poverty level. If you click on tools over here, you click on this swipe layer, and you can kind of start to go back and forth between these two data layers. And this, I think, can be really, especially for folks on this call, if you sort of want to identify some areas across the state where maybe we've got a high percentage of the population below the poverty level, where we've also got a high percentage of cost-burdened households, and that can kind of start us help to understand maybe some areas of the state where we know the housing crisis is happening across the state, but identify some areas of opportunity or some areas that we could really kind of start to serve. So you'll see again, if I would zoom down here in Wichita, you see something similar where we've got some really dark areas that we've got a high percentage of the population below the poverty level. And then when we start to kind of switch back over to this cost-burdened households, we'll notice some overlap there, and there might be some areas where that's occurring. So don't want to dig too much into that right now, but just kind of wanted to use this as a way to demonstrate this feature of the platform. The other pieces I'll highlight here is we've also got an export feature that I mentioned. So if you click on this, you can download the maps that you've created in different file formats. You'll see them here, PDF, JPEGs, all kinds of options there. And then again, there's also this share feature as well. And so this will create a short URL that will take folks directly to, if you share this URL with them, it will take them directly to the map that you've created. So that's kind of an overlook of the housing map. What I am going to do is sort of pull up a corresponding report to share with you all as well. So the other thing I will share is that once you're in the map room, if you ever need to get back to the website, the best way to do that is just to simply highlight the PowerCat there, and the PowerCat will always take you home. But we're going to go over to our reports over here, and we're going to highlight this Kansas housing report. And so again, this is going to be where we can do location-specific data. We can pull that according to different geographic locations here, different geographic filters. I'm going to just select a county. We were looking at Wichita earlier, so I'll just go ahead and pull up Sedgwick County right here. And we'll see we've got that selected. And then we can go over to our data indicators here. And you can kind of start to see all the different data that we have sort of available to look at. So for the purposes of this, I could go in and select things individually, but I'm just going to go ahead and select all indicators here. And then you click on reports, and it sometimes takes a little while to load here, but this will actually give us a really great snapshot of what's happening in Sedgwick County related to housing. So immediately what we'll pull up here and what it's continuing to load is sort of our table of contents here. So we can kind of link through the different pieces of the housing report. But you can kind of start to scroll down here, and you'll see we're pulling, for instance, this first data set here. We're looking at a housing profile of total number of housing units and their occupancy status according to the Census Bureau from 2020. And you'll see we can compare Sedgwick County with Kansas as well as the rest of the United States. And what's great about the report feature is there's sort of this measurement tool that will show how Sedgwick County is comparing to Kansas, and you'll see it's actually kind of in the green when compared with the rest of the state, as well as how it compares with the rest of the United States as well. And you can really, I won't scroll through all of this because if I were to do that, it would probably be about 32 pages. But you can see the very robust amounts of data it provides. If you ever want to link back to some of these maps, it will also always have the link here for you, and that will take us back to our map room, all of that as well. So just kind of wanted to highlight that piece of it as well. So the other thing I'd like to share with all of you before we sort of turn over to an interactive portion is I wanted to also share another map, which would be our broadband map. And so this is I'm pulling up kind of one of our pre-created maps here. And you'll see when I pull it up, it's kind of overwhelming because there's a lot of data available here as well. And I'll kind of walk you through these different pieces and also provide the disclaimer that I know a lot of folks in this call are very, very intimately involved with broadband. I am not a broadband person, so I will speak to this to the extent of my knowledge, but certainly feel free to provide any additional context I might be missing or any other feedback in the chat as well. But did kind of want to walk through first off what we've got showing up here. So I'm going to just deselect everything so we can kind of walk through this layer by layer. But our first layer that we're highlighting here is going to show some of our federally broadband funded project areas from 2024. And this is going to be FCC data. So again, we click on the eye over here. It's going to pull up some additional information about the data if you want to dig in and learn some more. So that's kind of identifying where there's some currently funded projects as well as maybe some opportunities. Our second layer here is going to be American Community Survey data that's going to show households with no or slow internet. So what people are self-reporting that they're experiencing with internet access. So you'll see as we try to find some maybe dark pink areas across the state here, those might be some areas of opportunity for building out internet access. We've also got a map here that's just showing the number of broadband providers by county. And again, this is going to be FCC data. So just to kind of give some additional context of the number of providers available. And then we've also got this broadband access layer here. And so this is FCC data. So as I'm sure folks on this call know, this is the data that the internet providers are giving to the FCC, showing where internet access may or may not be available. And what this map, I think, does a really good job of illustrating, which is probably something all of you are very familiar with, is that we're finding that broadband providers are over-reporting broadband access across the state, and that what folks on the ground are experiencing may not match what those internet providers are reporting. And certainly that has implications for areas where we can then go off and fund projects or things like that as well. And this map does a really good job of illustrating that if we use that swipe tool again. So I'm going to go back up here to my legend. I'm going to select that household with no or slow internet, and I'm also going to select that broadband access map, or excuse me, layer. We'll go to this swipe tool here. And I'm going to swipe through, and what you'll want to try and look for is some of these areas that are dark green, which is where the internet providers are saying, more than 98% of people in this area have access to broadband. And then as we swipe over, we're going to try and look for dark pink areas. So areas where folks are reporting no or slow internet. So already you can kind of see there's some opportunities, or might be something happening over here in Finney County around Garden City. If we look at actually some of the urban areas as well, there's a little kind of pocket up here in Salina. There's some pockets in Wichita, that kind of thing as well. So just wanted to give a high level view. If I had a little more time, I would really kind of dig in and click through some of these areas, and we could kind of dig into it a little bit more. But it really does this map does a good job of identifying opportunity areas that we can continue to fund or support, things like that. So I do just want to very quickly show the corresponding report for this. And then Jessica, I'll turn it over to you for kind of our interactive Q&A portion. So again, if we go over to our reports, we'll click on All Things Kansas over here. I'm going to just select Finney County, since that's sort of one of the areas we were looking at. And I do want to highlight one other feature here, which is that you can sort of compare two counties together. So I could pull Finney and Ford together. Let's say if we kind of want to look at Southwest Kansas there. So we'll go to our data indicators here. Our broadband is over here in our community vitality. So I'm just going to select some of these broadband layers. And we'll go over here to reports. And it pulls a lot quicker when you don't select everything. But what this is doing is it's, again, pulling a report that's looking at broadband for Finney County and Ford County. So you'll see here as we sort of dig into this, you can look at just Finney County. You can also look at just Ford County. And then the report location is going to be the average of those two locations together. So this is a really good tool if maybe you're looking at applying for a grant for a regional area of the state. You can select several counties together. Or if you want to compare maybe how your community is doing with a peer community in another part of the state, something like that. So that's another feature of this. And so the indicator here is actually pulling from that report location, from that average. If you wanted to just do an individual county, you could go back and select that. But again, just you'll see all the robust amount of data that it provides. You can again link back to maps, all kinds of pieces like that as well. So yeah, I think that's kind of the end of this live demo portion, but did just want to highlight sort of how these maps and report tools complement each other and how they can really help us start to understand the communities across our state. So I think with that, Jessica, I'm going to stop sharing here and I will switch over to our interactive portion.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer. Jennifer is our demo guru. She is so excellent at it. Reach out to us if you have any questions about it. And one thing that, I think we mentioned a little bit, this is a multi-state collaboration with the University of Missouri Extension and also the University of Nebraska-Lincoln Extension. So what is so powerful about that is that we can also learn from our colleagues and learn from our peers. And every state has common issues that they're thinking about either through extension or through economic development. And then all of us have very unique things as well. So I guess to this audience, as you think about the presentation you just had, what are some other resources or information that could be added to All Things Kansas? This is our Mentimeter interactive Q&A platform. So you can actually use your cell phone right now and scan that QR code. And you can go ahead and add some information that you think might be useful for us to add to the All Things Kansas data platform. And it's fairly simple to do. We can go in and do some data discovery, understand what the platforms look like, and understand our ability to host that data on our platform. So feel free to send that to us. You can reach out to Jennifer and I individually, or your local extension office as well has had some demonstration and some training on using the All Things Kansas platform. So I see transportation. Yes, that is definitely one that we have a little bit about, but we can continue to add. Can Jennifer and I both be on the screen right now, or is it just either one or the other? Because that might be helpful to us. And so energy burden, okay. We do have another question. Jennifer, how's the timing on that? Can we switch to the other question, or do we have to let this one populate a little bit more?
We can, you can continue to add this, and then we will just go ahead and switch. This is our second question here. So
okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and how could the experience be enhanced for communities and individuals? And I said at the beginning of the presentation that not only is it a tool, but it's also a point of engagement. So we love to go around the state, we love to present, and we love to get to know different organizations and groups that are thinking about things that create community development, economic development for Kansas prosperity. So keep those things in mind. If you do have questions or suggestions for us, Jennifer and I are available, and we're starting to, okay, it says non-KSU email users able to save maps. So yes, you can save maps. You can actually create the map and then save the link. We do have an additional single sign-in security for K-State employees right now, to where they can go in and create, whether they have county activities or county information. So extension agents have the ability to do some specialized things behind the single sign-on security. We don't have that as a feature yet to the public because of IT security issues. So for right now, yes, you can save maps, you can send links, you can download, you can create the graphics from it. But being able to save them behind like a user profile is just open to K-State employees at the time.
And we do have this, I'll kind of add to that as well. This is on our list of exploration. So we launched it with our K-State emails as sort of a pilot program, and we're exploring different ways we can do that because we know that it's a valuable tool and something that can really help folks out too. So we certainly appreciate that. And I'll also kind of address some of the other, we had energy burden and transportation on there as well. We also welcome any kind of feedback on what we're missing and how we can continue to improve the platform. The example I will give is the Build Your Business page. That was an idea that came to us, and it was, someone said, wouldn't it be cool if? And so that is, and we kind of brainstormed and tried to kind of think about different ways we could incorporate that. So again, this is a live and very dynamic tool that we continue to update. It was not just a launch and done kind of a thing. So assistance to help a community create a profile. So that's actually not something I guess we've really explored, but I think we've certainly gone and, worked with communities and done demos in different areas. But, I think that's a great idea. Jessica, do you have any?
Yeah, and I think so like the future could look like maybe there's a dashboard that folks from the community can log on to and see some of their information specific. But also, if you're wanting to explore a new project in a community, we're seeing a lot of our legislative leaders, and we took this to DC last year, and we trained all of the offices in DC, and we trained all the staffers to use it. So yes, like when our legislative leaders are thinking about a particular topic, their aides are creating profiles about either county level or region level. One of the search filters that you can use are legislative districts, House and Senate, and we also have CARDO districts, and then extension agents behind their single sign-on, they can actually do extension districts to be segmented. So that could be another way that you would think about creating a community profile.
Yeah, I think I will, maybe I'll just go ahead and switch to our questions slide over here. And just see if there's any other questions. I don't know, Jason, if you kind of wanted to facilitate any additional Q&A. And Jessica and my contact information is on this screen as well.
I think we still have you on mute, Jason.
I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Jennifer and Jessica. It looks like we don't have any questions in the chat, but anyone should feel free to post them in there or come off mute and ask them. I was going to ask, you asked it, what other resources or information can be added to All Things Kansas? So that's great. One thing that I thought of there, I know there's the DASC Center, DASC, and I forget what that stands for and I believe it's out of KU. Are K-State and KU working together at all to share data layers and data?
Yes, we actually co-presented with the team at a data conference back in April on some of that. So we've been brainstorming different ways that we can work together without duplicating efforts, because certainly we know that they've been doing their work for a really, really long time as well. And so our platform, the way we kind of describe it to folks is this is really, it's all about data accessibility, right? This is about helping folks who maybe don't work with data every single day, but you need quick access to information because you've got a grant application due next week, or you're presenting to your city commission or your county commission, tomorrow, and you need to pull together this is a quick tool to help get all of that information to you. And then we would certainly say, if you want to dive into this more and really work with some experts, we've got lots of partner organizations that can help with that as well. So this is really about saving folks time and making that data accessible.
And looking towards the future, Jennifer and I talked a little bit about our K-State Next Gen philosophy that you see all over K-State. So as the first operational land grant university from the 1800s, how does that extension agent be able to address the needs of today? So you can't be a walking expert on every single topic. So this is a really great tool for people to use in these individual counties and offices to say, okay, I don't have the deep expertise on what this looks like. So here's something we can explore together to help, and then maybe Jennifer and I, we sometimes get called the K-State connector. So if we are looking at a particular element of a topic in a community and we don't have the answers or the data platform, we want to understand that data better, we can connect you back in to subject matter experts, not only at K-State, but like Jennifer said, some of our counterparts at KU, we've done some inquiries over and said, hey, can you help us with this question that we're getting from the community? So same thing with Wichita State, Fort Hays State, all of the other colleges and universities across Kansas, we have the ability to be that connector piece to it. So Jennifer, we have a question. Can you give a quick response for how often the data sets are updated?
For sure. So most of the federal data is going to be pulling through an API. So the platform will have the latest publicly available data, and that will be showing up in the map room. So when I talked about, access to the 30,000 data layers, that's going to be showing up there. The map gallery, those are ones that we have pre-created. So we update those as we're able to. And then when it comes to the partner organization data, we really strive to get the latest available data with that as well and get it updated as soon as possible. But particularly with the federal data, it's the latest publicly available data.
Yeah, and through our partnership with the University of Missouri Extension, they actually have 18 full-time people that work on the All Things platform. And so we are very well supported, I think, from the back end on the data side of things. So anytime we have a question, we are able to ask questions and get these clarities pretty quickly.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jennifer and Jessica. I'm not seeing any other questions, and we do have a little bit more to cover today, so I'm going to go ahead and move on. Let me share my screen. I did mention at the start that this is our second part two of the data infrastructure or data tools for infrastructure. And based on last month's presentation, there were some suggestions and other ideas that came up. And so wanted to present those. And
Hi, everyone. It looks like Jason has gone. His screen has gone blank. So I'm going to switch over here. Oh, Jason, you back?
I'm back. We'll see if it'll let me share. My Zoom quit. Sorry.
It looks like it's on there.
If you have it, oh, it's on there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. If you could just advance to the next slide, that'd be great. All right.
Yeah, Ken, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble. I'll need you to share.
Give me just a second here. All right. Can everyone see that screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go over some data tools for infrastructure grants. If you guys remember, these are what we presented last time, and some of these same resources are in the All Things Kansas presentation that you just heard, so that is fantastic. Advance the screen here. Okay. So the other tools and resources that we're going to go over today are highlighted here. And here's some information about the Kansas Commerce. So Kansas Commerce does have a number of resources and tools available. This highlights some of those that are important to those that might be in the agricultural or in the food processing and manufacturing region. One of the things that I wanted to highlight specifically is, especially if you're going after discretionary funds, grant funding from the federal government, you are competing with other states, regions, larger cities. And a lot of those reviewers may be more familiar with the economies or the layout or the structure of those states. So utilizing data, things from Kansas Commerce as an example, can really help strengthen your application because it can help tell the reviewer why Kansas, why is it important, and how does that impact and affect the larger and broader national economy. Kansas Forest Service, there is a number of wildfire risks that happen across Kansas, obviously being in the Midwest. It's something that I think many people are familiar with. But there are also grant opportunities that are available for things like natural disasters and other immediate needs that are happening. And so one of the key elements here to remember is that it's really good to connect with your emergency management staff. So if you're at the city level, make sure you're talking to those at the county. If you're at the county, make sure you're talking to your peers in other departments and offices because they're going to have access and information about some of those particular programs that might benefit your community. With the Kansas Division of Emergency Management, they have a number of these maps, and there's a whole host of things. But one of the things that I wanted to highlight here was if you look at the drought intensity over here on this left-hand side, oops, sorry, let me back up there. It will show where drought is most likely to occur at this point in time. Why does that matter? Well, if you look at the right side, you can draw down further and you can see that severe drought is happening here over on the this portion of the state and where heavy rain is then expected. So what does that mean? It means that there could be intense flooding. So if I was a grant manager in this particular community, I would make sure that if those things were in the forecast and happening, I'd go in here and take some screenshots and be able to file those away because then when a disaster or a grant application becomes available, I can use some of this data and this information as part of that justification. Likewise, I also wanted to highlight the wildfire information. So these are, again, our current wildfires. This data is a couple weeks old, so don't mind that. But one of the things that's really critical, so much like Jennifer was showing at the All Things Kansas, you could then highlight where there is severe air quality and how does that then impact your health of your community members. And that becomes really really important and good story to tell because some of the grant applications for the federal government, you have to have certain number or percentages of people with asthma or other health conditions in order to be applicable and be eligible to apply. So these are all great tools to understand and know and have in your back pocket. The Kansas Data Access and Support Center, this is one that Jason was mentioning. This is the DASC. This pulls lots of data and information at the state level. This tool is not really for the novice person. You do have to kind of dig in and go through these layers, but some of the information is a little bit more user friendly. And so like this one in particular shows where all of the gas public utilities are. This can be helpful if you're planning a project and you know you're going to have to work around gas lines. So you'll know that those things are going to need to be in your grant project table, as an example. So there are levels of information, but the All Things Kansas tool might be more user-friendly for you. One of the other things that we wanted to highlight was this is the map from the Federal Highway Administration, and this is the federal lands map. And this becomes really important because some grant opportunities, like the Federal Lands Grant Access Program, is currently available, but it's only available to those that are within a 10-mile radius of federal lands. There's other program criteria and requirements, but this map can help lead you to a pathway of understanding eligibility, and if you have a project that perhaps is overlapping with that program, and therefore you might be eligible to apply. Just so you guys know, FLAP is active right now. And we did hear from the program director at the national level that they have stated that applications are open until the 19th, but I think they're December 19th, but I think they're extending that through the 31st because there's some discrepancy between the system in which you're applying and the award notifications. So certainly if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your Hub TA providers. We've been really, we have Shannon Preet, who's actually on the call as a listener, but she's been really in contact with that federal administrator and has been helping to feed us with some of that information for those relevant communities. Likewise, another key piece of information to make sure that people are familiar with is the National Register of Historic Places. Do you have any of these locations in your community? Understanding this will also give you access to some of those other grant opportunities. And so one of the easy ways to figure that out is to go into the system. When we send these out, the links will be active, but the links do take you to the page where you can actually download a full Excel report. And then from there, you can easily go through and sort by Kansas, the county, or the city. One of the key areas of significance is it tells you which type of structure and or building it is, and then it also categorizes that building or structure for you. So again, really helpful for you to know if you're writing grants within your community. One of the other key assets is to know about your Federal Emergency Management Association disaster declaration. So there is an active opportunity right now through the EDA, and that is only active for those that have had natural disaster declarations from 2023 to 2024. And so you would be able to then, again, go in, download the disaster declarations list, and be able to sort that and see if you have something in your community. Alternatively, talk to your emergency management team. They're going to have this information. They're going to know that because they are the ones who are actually reporting this information. Conversely, this is also where it becomes a partnership between your community or between and with your community, because your emergency managers, if there is a disaster that was not reported and therefore you then need funding later on, that is not going to show up on this disaster declarations list, in which case then you're not going to be eligible to apply for that funding that you need. So again, remember, it's a community grants do not work in a bubble all on their own. It really is a community effort, and I think that that's a really easy way to help tell that story. One of the other tools that's available is the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. This is one where they work at the federal level and they do work legislatively. So you can identify information at the congressional level, which might be helpful if you're working with particular projects in different communities. This just outlines some of the publicly available information, and they do have economists on staff that are pulling all of these things together. So much like All Things Kansas, they're pulling APIs and information from publicly available resources. So you might be able to compare and contrast just to try and get a better comprehensive view of your community. This is that report just kind of broken down with the congressional district. We know that bridges is something that is very important to Kansans. So this, again, can just be in another level of information where you can pull what is deficient. And this one actually tries to outline those that are top most traveled and structurally deficient in Kansas. Again, you know your community, your professionals know your community. This is a layer of data and information to help get you started. But I think it's always important to denote that some of this information, because it is coming from public resources, that could be outdated. There could be updated information. You might already have a project in the works in one of these areas and you may not know it. So make sure you are communicating with those at your city or county level. And then also, this also becomes another great opportunity for you to communicate with your state agencies. So I wouldn't just stop there. I would also try and get on the phone with KDOT if I was trying to plan a project and make sure that all of the data aligns and matches with the information that they have. So we want to know from you. We're trying to put together a little one-pager template with some of these good resources that we've shared over these last two sessions. And we wanted to know, are we missing anything? Is there other information? So to what Jennifer and Jessica were describing, is there other tools that could be useful to this community? And Jason, I can't see the chat, so if you could.
Oh, sure. I'm not seeing anything in the chat. We've answered the questions that have come up. One was, will there be a recording posted? And I did put a link in there to our webinars page on our website, and we will post that recording later today, as well as the slides. The slides are the link above in the chat as well.
Great, thank you. All right, well, with that, I will turn it back over to you, Jason.
All right, thank you. Yeah, if you can advance to the next slide, we are just about at time. So I'll just announce that our webinar for next month will be the first Wednesday, December 3rd, again at the same 12 noon time. To find out more, just sign up for our newsletter. I'll put the link in the chat here in a second, or just go to our website in the top right corner and you can sign up for our newsletter. But thank you again to Kenda and Jennifer and Jessica for presenting today and for all of you giving up your time to join us. Thank you very much.